Hello, hello. Welcome to The Play That Changed My Life, brought to you by Harbinger Theater and OSM Studios. This is the podcast talking about theater just so I can get more theater in my life. I usually say we have a very special episode, but we're on December 9th here, and it's a very ordinary episode. It's very dull. We've got nothing going on. I'm kidding. I'm very excited. We have with us today Johnny Miller, who is the historian, author of Historic Theater of New York's Capital District. I saw a post on Facebook that featured this book. He had a book signing yesterday, and I flipped out. I reached out to him, and we've got Johnny Miller here to talk about theaters. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. And it just so happened I had the days off when you asked me. So it's like the universe was really lined up. Yeah.
Score.
Yeah.
Excellent. And with Johnny, who I've never met before, I have one of my oldest friends in theater, Maghen Ryan, who has been a student, and she's acted in a number of productions, and she's one of my favorite people in the Capital Region.
Sweet.
Maghen, welcome.
So happy to be here.
To The Play That Changed My Life. She's a big fan of the podcast.
Yes, I listen to all episodes.
Welcome.
And, I want to tell you, I already texted you about this, but they're not going to know this. I listened to all the episodes, and I'm so sad because I thought that Spotify would have a graphic for like my most listened to podcast. And it didn't have that. So I had to physically text him and say, I'm a huge fan. I thought I would be able to show you with my stats.
Yeah. We didn't show up on Wrapped.
Yes, my Wrapped.
Well, you should contact Spotify.
I should.
And
Yeah.
be like,
I did a lot of work, but it's really, I do love this.
You know
show
what my
so much.
number one podcast was? Broadway Babble. Have you ever heard of that? Charles Kirsch.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
He just turned 18 years old, I think. Yeah, and he's got this interview show, and I think they're like an hour long.
Oh.
And he has like Joe Mantello and Donna McKechnie, and
That's cool.
yeah. And
Wait, did you
he
find
hosts evenings at Studio 54. He's 18,
that's crazy.
but
Did you find that on your Spotify? I told you that?
Yeah.
Oh, well then maybe I'll be able to find
Yeah.
my stats for you. But I just take my word. I'm a huge fan.
Okay, we'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
I can't
Suspension of
prove it,
disbelief.
but I'm the biggest fan.
I will
biggest
suspend
fan.
my disbelief. I have no disbelief. Of course you're my biggest.
Yeah.
Well-
yeah.
Well, I'm going to say that I'm officially your newest fan.
Thank you, Johnny.
I actually did not know about this podcast before your invitation.
Oh.
And now I'm better late than never, I
Yes.
guess.
Yeah, no, it's not late at all. It is our 27th episode.
Yes, it is.
Well, I was
Yeah,
very
fact-
happy to
fact
be
checked
invited
with
on to
Megan.
such a milestone
Megan.
episode.
Yeah,
Number
thank
27
you.
is a big one.
27, yeah. All right, let's get into it. Johnny, you wrote this book. Before we get into details about the theaters, you were telling us a little bit beforehand, but your life in the theater, what attracted you to theater, and
Well, it's interesting. So I got my degree in history, my master's degree from Albany, and I did nothing with it. And I thought I really miss the just constant pain of research and writing. So I'm like, I want to write a book on something, and I didn't know what it was, how I was going to do it. What the subject was going to be, and I came to a performance here at Proctor's with my partner at the time, and there was that display on FF Proctor, and I saw it. I'm like, wow, I didn't know he was a big vaudeville star before becoming like a theater magnate, and I thought, wow, like the history of theater is probably pretty fascinating. And my personal fascination has always been with my earliest memories were like from the drive-in. going to the drive-in.
Sure.
Being brought to the drive-in by my parents when I was way too young, probably, to see some of the stuff I saw at the drive-in.
Excellent.
Like I saw John Carpenter's The Thing when I was 5 years old in 1982.
Yes.
Do your math, everyone. But yeah, it like that blew my mind, and just the magic of theaters and walking into that big open space and like the lights go down and your focus is entirely on one spot and you don't know what's going to happen. It's the mystery and magic of it all, and knowing that you're sharing it with people, and that over time, fourth dimensionally, you've shared this experience with thousands of other people who have come and gone before you is just, it's so attractive to me.
Very mystical.
Yeah.
Do you remember the show you were going to see at Proctor's when you saw it?
I don't.
That's fine.
I may have written it in the book, but I can't remember off the top of my head. It must have. It could have been any number of things. It could have been Mythbusters here for all I know.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
I took my nephew to that.
Yep, I came to the Mel Brooks Blazing Saddles showing, which was fascinating, and yeah, a lot of theater experiences. I came here with my dad when I was younger. It was like one of our first experiences of just him and I together.
Yep.
So, it's very father-son experience. It was like some like Edgar Allan Poe production where it was like a few different Edgar Allan Poe like stories like in one. And that was a memorable experience for me. But it's just the magic of theaters. And once you realize like there's a lot of magic and experience that a lot of people share at theaters, there's going to be a lot of wonderful and interesting and downright bizarre stories that are going to go with it.
Yeah.
And for those of you listening, if you think like, oh man, history books, like there's a bunch of dates and times and it's very can be very dry. This book is not dry. I know I'm kind of biased in saying that, but there's a lot of just crazy stuff that has happened in theaters over the ages. And I just realized I completely snowballed your question into
No. That tends to happen when you start talking about history. And I picked up like certain threads, and I was like, oh, I got to follow up on that. And they're all stored back here now. And let's see how much of it we get to. There is a company in Manhattan called Broadway Up Close. I'm a huge fan. Been going to their tours for about 2 years now. They have 7 different tours where they're about 2 hours long. And they take you either inside a theater or a certain section of Times Square and talk about the histories of each different theater. And in doing so, the first one I went to, I loved was the history of the Hudson Theater. And it goes into the architecture, who built it, who owned it, and it turns out the owner was on the Titanic. And we were talking before about the fire regulations. He goes into all of that because it affected that theater. And there's talk about the design elements. Tiffany worked on some of the design structures of it. And this theater went through a history where it was used at a certain time as a TV studio. And then it was, like a porn house for a period of time. Then it came back, and now it's landmarked. So, all the structure is, protected. It's great stuff. It's called Broadway Up Close, and they have 7 different tours. One of them is down on Wall Street, and it follows like Hamilton.
Wow,
yeah,
that's awesome.
The where Hamilton would have practiced law, and
that's cool.
But great stuff. Friend Tim Dolan, who worked at Coho's Music Hall. He did a show there 15 years ago. But yeah, I just want to put a plug in. And you said something, about the pain of research. And I think I keyed in on it because if you can find something where you're into the pain, do you know what I mean? Like everyone thinks acting or theater, it's opening nights and all good times and stuff. But if you can really get into the ditch digging of learning lines, then you've really found something. If the hardest part of what the profession is, or the avocation or whatever, if that turns you on,
Yeah, for real.
That's something to grab.
Yeah, they don't really advertise that part of creation and the creative process, right? Where it's like, whether it's your imagination or writing or drawing or painting or acting, writing, creation's a messy business. It's not all blooming flowers. It's the stuff that the flower has to grow through the adversity to bloom, so it's in nature as well. It's like anytime you have creation, it can be like destructive and painful, but usually what comes out on the other side tends to be worth it. Theoretically anyway.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not worth it. Sometimes the pain is not worth what you come out with, but the creation of this book was pain appreciated.
Yeah,
I think.
Well, I don't know. I've always found the process worth it, regardless of the outcome. I can't think of a time where I said, even attending something, that was 2 hours of my life wasted. That there's always something in it.
It's true. Yeah.
Maghen is an incredibly talented, creative artist. She has done many projects for me, from the coffee beans in Gloria.
Yes, did do that.
She does all sorts of. I'll do a production, and I'll need some design element. And I'll go, Maghen.
Yeah, we have.
Could you paint Monticello on the floor for me? Yeah, we did a play called Spectacular Trial of Ms. Martha Washington, where the slaves hold her to account. And Maghen painted Monticello on the floor.
Wow.
Yeah, it was unreal.
It was a lot, but it was really fun. Like, the end was, but it was like a fun process. I remember you were like, what help can I get you with, for this? And I was like, I don't know how to delegate that. I think I just have to do it.
Wow,
that's... So my family did help, like a little, like Brian, my husband, helped. But yeah.
So you're painting and also trying to memorize your lines.
No, she wasn't.
I was not in. But
I was gonna say, I'm like,
but I have done. I do
God.
like that, like helping with sets and stuff, and then stepping back and being like, oh yeah, here's our set, guys, and being in the show as well is very fun.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah, this one I was not in, but I do like our process, which is like, I'll be like, okay, what are you thinking? And then I'll throw something at you, and you're like, I was thinking more of this. And it's like, oh, I got it. Like, you'll send me a reference of something.
Yeah.
That's what happened with that one. Yeah. But we've done some pretty cool
She's
stuff.
currently in my acting class, and I have my finger in many pies. And we were building a tree for the Capital Region Festival of Theater. We're sponsoring a tree at the Schenectady County Historical Society.
Sweet.
You know where that is. They have a festival of trees. There's 75 trees in this building. So go over and see it from now through December 28th, $6.
Cool.
I think it's 10 a.m. to 4:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah, go check out the trees and vote for Crafts Tree.
Oh, I didn't know it was a contest.
Yeah.
Oh,
There's
good to
like
know.
most
Wow.
glamorous.
Okay.
I don't know what we would be under. Most informative, and there are 100 theaters in the Capital Region. I've got a list. So I tried to get ornaments from all of them, and it was like wrangling all this stuff in like 2 weeks. And I really wanted one from my high school theater, Line and Q.
Oh,
Wow.
Colony High School. So I asked Maghen to make me an ornament.
Yeah.
And having her as a guest on this podcast is my way of thanking her. It's a beautiful ornament.
Oh, I thought you were going to say this is your way of putting her on the spot to ask her to create something else.
Oh, there's another.
What else?
What else can I do?
What else can
You
I
have
do?
to say no over a microphone. Just letting you know.
Yeah,
that.
I'll think about it.
Oh, have you seen our season schedule next year?
Yeah,
We
I'm
just
available.
announced, Harbinger just announced our 4-play schedule for next year.
Yeah.
We'll just get Maghen on the line.
Yeah, I'm available.
The pain. Talk about the pain.
In regards to like painting or just in process in
yeah.
general. Well, that floor bait that we're
Yeah.
talking about was maybe one of the more exhausting ones I've ever done. But it was out of love. But
It was
really,
like a
it was.
week. It was
I
a
went a
week.
little cuckoo. I think it was like 2 days. It was a pretty quick turnaround.
Oh.
Yeah, we did that pretty much like overnight, and I was like at it like by myself, kind of in a theater, like at night. But it was. That was, I went a little crazy a little bit for that one. I did have like a moment where I was like, I'm a little in over my head, but then it turns another corner and you're like, oh, there's an end. And then it is the end and it's worth it. But yes, that was an adventure. Yeah.
Yeah. Much appreciated.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was beautiful.
It was very fun.
and I had no other design elements, and it was an interesting theater space in that the rake on the seats was very steep.
Yeah.
It was
did
at
work for that.
Sage College in
Yep.
Troy, so the whole audience could see it.
Yeah.
Throughout the production, and then we had Nikki
Right.
Lights, who threw up. He gave us, I think we had like a white scrim in the back, and we got a lot of light out of that. But it was really like the only design element, And
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was pretty, other than the floor, it was pretty
Yeah,
simple.
we had
I don't even know how you go about painting on a floor because, like, just imagining like painting on a floor, my knees start hurting, like my hips start hurting. I can feel like my elbow like get like tennis elbow. Just imagining painting on a floor.
I can speak to that a little bit because my family did color. I know there was that play about color guard that was recently, right? My parents taught color guard. I don't know if you know what that is. It's flag spinning, right? And there's a whole indoor world of color guard, which is so bizarre and cool and
Winter
weird.
guard.
Winter guard, yes.
it was at Skidmore.
Yes, I wish I saw it. Why? Oh, okay. So yes, color guard's its own weird bubble of the universe, and my parents taught it like most of my life. And they would have basically what they do is it's in gymnasiums and they don't want to scuff up gym floors, so they get I think they're billboards, to be honest, old billboards you can take down, and it's this material like a tarp. It's a tarp,
okay.
but billboards are made of this tarp material, and it's huge. And so they get these tarps, and usually with whatever theme the show is, you can paint on your tarp. And so I'd been painting like for color guards for a little bit. So it kind of was like
awesome.
not as big as, what we had done, Patrick, but I'm used to big things. But that was very like intricate, and we had like fields and, for the plantations and stuff. And it was
The quarters.
Yes. And quirky. It was like a cartoon. It was to go along with the play was very surreal, but
And that was a black theater troupe of upstate New York.
Yeah. But it is painful to, and then what's hard though is, you'll be up close and then you have to step back to know your perspectives is what I have always struggled with because you're so there. That happened. That was a challenge with that one. It was like, I don't know what this is looking like. And then you'll go up to the top seats and you're like, oh, that's all askew. So that's always my biggest struggle is perspective.
Yeah, that's the same aspect with writing too, especially this book, because you have to take a step back to like, all right, what's going on? Like I'm so focused on this theater at this particular time. And there's a lot of like theater managers and people who change theaters. So it's like, wait, this name is familiar. Like I got to remember who this is and where they worked before. And you kind of accidentally create like the thread of their career, and just trying to keep track of all these things can be daunting. And like I'm guessing like when you paint, it's like you can get so focused on one part. You're like, well, I don't even know if my color matching is
Right.
really adequate on this other side. So I got to step back and, oh man, I do not envy having to paint Monticello on a billboard cloth.
This
It's amazing.
Picking up on another one of Johnny's thread, do you remember your first experiences going to a theater?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. No, I do. Growing up, I did have a friend who I met through my cousins, and she was on Broadway, but I'd met her like before she was on Broadway. Brittany Kissinger. She worked with like Maghen Theater, I know, but then there was a Macy's audition call for Annie in the 90s, and she had auditioned and was an orphan, and then had become Annie like pretty quickly. And I remember, I'm sure like I'd seen like, I don't know, in Disney World they have like Indiana Jones on stage and stuff like that, but I'd never seen like a play before. And so my mom was like, we're gonna go to Broadway to see Brittany, and I'm like, I don't know what that means, but fine. So that was probably my first ever,
Wow.
which was like seeing a friend on
How old
Broadway.
were you?
I was 7, and she was like probably 7 as well. She was very, very. She's a very talented person. But what was crazy? I will never forget my first time seeing her. When we had seen this play like over and over again, we would keep going to the city to see her for like as long as she was Annie. So, but I'll never forget the first time seeing it. I thought it was like the most confusing thing because it was like I knew her, but I didn't know her.
Yeah.
It was like Superman and Clark Kent or something. But it was really just, now I'm like, oh, it's just because she gave Annie such a full life that I didn't recognize her. It was confusing. But I have so many cool memories of being backstage. We would like play in her dressing room and stuff. And I did look this up recently, but it was the Martin Beck Theater, but now it's the Al
Hirschfeld.
Yes. What was really fun about her dressing room was whenever somebody would go visit her, like celebrities would pop in sometimes, she would have you sign the wall. So I got to sign her dressing room. Isn't that
that's
so
awesome.
cute? But now I'm sure it's painted up.
Did you get to take the wall with her?
I don't
home?
know. I don't know if I know that, but
Yeah,
it was very, very cool.
I'm always curious because these theaters are now 100 years old. And actually, I think the Hirschfeld, I think it turned 100.
Oh, wow.
Recently.
Oh, that's so interesting.
But what is it like backstage? Because these theaters are old, and but I've read somewhere that certain stars bring in designers because they know they're going to be there for a year. So design my dressing room, and you have this little space.
Yeah.
But what color do you want?
Right. Yeah, it's all very cool. I don't know. So I have lots of it was such a cool childhood because of all that.
Yeah,
was
that's
very
amazing.
Cool. Yeah.
And really, when you think about it, as a 7-year-old, the best review you could give an actor is you're two different people.
Yeah, I'm confused. I thought we were friends, but I don't remember you.
I don't know who you are.
I thought you had parents,
You're
but you
Annie?
don't.
What?
You know FDR?
Do you know somebody named Daddy Warbucks?
Yeah.
That
Yeah, it
seems
was
kind of on the
weird.
nose, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was just so fascinating. But also as I would see her, because we saw this play a lot, I was like, it's just so weird that she's saying these things as if it's her first time, but I know I saw her just acting is so weird. But that was the first theater experience I think I'd ever had was.
I could see how that would also get its hooks in you.
Yeah, I was
I'm fascinated. I want to try this.
I was definitely bit there.
Yeah.
Now, through school, did you do plays?
No, I went to Catholic schools, and that money goes to sports and stuff like that. But I would not have done this. I was so shy. I didn't talk to anybody. I would not have. I remember telling my parents I wanted to perform, and then anytime they would try, they'd sign me up for dance lessons. I had a panic attack. I couldn't even get through the door. I couldn't do it, and I would beat up on myself so bad because I'm I want this so bad, and I feel like I'm blowing my shot. But also, like, to be fair, in my, like, defense, I would say that, like, I was always, like, a chubby kid, like, always plus size. I wasn't seeing kids that, like, looked like me. Or if if you were seeing that, it was, like, they're used as, like, they're being bullied or, like, it's like a joke. Or it's always, like, weights used as, like, some sort of a plot. So, like, how would I know, like, I belong in these settings or whatever? So I didn't do theater at all. But you know what I did do? I was an altar server at church. Yeah. I pretended I was like, that was theater.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like that's as best as I could do. I was like, I have a matinee. It's like
So did you play that as like different personality types?
Oh my God, yes. I was like, today I'm playing the book bearer. Or like usually amazing. Like a boy would be like the cross bearer. I'm like, oh, I'm understudying for like, yeah.
That's so
You only have
cute.
so many
That's
lines
funny,
though,
yeah.
like amen, stuff like that. So that's as best as I could do.
Yeah, the Catholic Church isn't really into improvising very much.
Yeah, I mean,
but
commandments.
But I can totally see the whole theatrical element to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Music. Oh my God.
We were talking about Diecast.
Oh yes.
Yeah, this group in Philly that does these immersive pieces, and they've worked with Troy Foundry Theater, and I've seen them for a number of years at the Provincetown Tennessee Williams Festival, and they did Suddenly last summer this year in a church. Ooh. And the whole cast was up on the altar, and as they were, led into the story, they would come and enter and. Yeah,
that is so cool.
Yeah, and they entered, down. It was very.
Oh, I would have loved that.
Yeah,
I'd be like, oh yeah. Actually, I just had a flashback. Do you remember the Christians? I was in your choir, and I was like, oh, this is full circle for me. Now I'm.
That's awesome.
Acting in a church, but now I'm actually in a theater. That's a full circle moment for me. I just realized that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome. Harbinger's first production. The Christians in December of 2021, and it was about a man who decides that he no longer believes in hell, and he's going to convince his congregation in a mega church. And we did it at the Albany Barn with a choir of 14.
Yeah.
Wow.
Rob Weber leading the choir, and Nikki Lights got us a screen to project the pastor's sermon up on this huge screen that filled up the back wall of the theater. And this was all, during the pandemic. And there were a lot of people. We got an article in the Times-Union religion section, which,
that's funny. I didn't know that. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it was a great show.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I had a thread.
Oh, sorry. I
Maghen, and you went to Sage.
Oh, I did.
Right?
Yes. So I pretty much like kind of accepted like I'm not going to get to do theater, so I feel like I pushed that down a little bit, and like I was more into like, I don't know, local bands and stuff. But then going to Russell Sage, I kind of like fell in love with it. I did not go for theater, but all my classes were at the Shack Fine Arts Building, and I like was friends with all the theater people. Like Brian Sheldon, I wasn't in my class, or no, he was in my class. Yeah. Like all those people. David Gerard was around the same year as me. Shannon Rafferty. My bestie was Carol Edie Smith's granddaughter. She's still one of my besties, but she was a theater person. So I was friends with the theater people. I always painted for them. I would see all of their shows all the time. I would usher. I like fell in love with theater, but still was like not doing it. I went to school for art. So, but yeah,
and then you saw a flyer at Sand Lake Center for the Arts. Let's bring it back to me.
Okay. No,
Let's bring it back to me. And it was for acting class.
Yes.
And you responded to it. And this is like whenever, I'm talking to Harbinger or Capital Region Festival of Theater about flyering and about going around and putting stuff up. Everybody's so reliant on social media it's like you're not reaching the people who
Yeah.
need to see it. Because if you put it on social media, it's only going to be the people who have that theater algorithm.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Yep.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Yes, I remember like Googling and stuff for acting classes. I was working with people with disabilities, and I was always trying to find like opportunities and looking at billboards, but also I was like secretly looking for myself for acting classes and like singing classes, just because I still had that, but was like, oh, maybe I'll. But I couldn't find anything. And then one day I was at the theater for the people that I was working with, and I had seen that, and I didn't even like reach out right away. I still was like, I don't know. And I was like Googling monologues, standalone monologues, and I was trying my best to like understand it. And I was like, I still don't get it. I don't understand it. And then I had gotten a play, and then finally had reached out to you, and yeah. And I was like, I remember being like, I have no experience. Is that okay? And you're like, yeah, great. See you, next week or whatever.
That just means you're a perfectly moldable student.
I think it was also, though, that it was like, I was so scared too. Like, I really sat on it because I was like, what if it's like, I thought maybe I would try it, but I just really had this idea of like, you're going to be like, no, I don't take people without experiences, or I don't know. This is all, I'm so scared. But I don't know. And then I showed up and I did a monologue, and I still was like expecting you to be like, okay, great, But you were like, okay, great. We'll see you next week in class. And I just remember being like, oh my God, thank God. Like, you were so welcoming. And if you weren't welcoming, I wouldn't be here. Like,
well, the crazy, obviously the thing is like I needed students. I started off class with like 5 students, and then and you and Debbie and Dennis and like there were a core group that started that was like, oh, this is working finally. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I needed to start building a class, and it is people with all experiences, and we've had 15, 16-year-olds and up to Jerry is 85, 86, and there are a lot of retirees, and there are a lot of people who, finally have the time to get theater in their life. But yeah, I mean, it's so awesome to have that group of all different experiences working together and supporting each other.
Yeah.
So, Johnny, how is theater in your life right now?
Right now, it's not currently in my life right now, but it was a big chunk of my life writing this book. My first memories of theater, as I stated before, primarily through motion pictures and going to movie theaters with my parents and being like enamored of like everything that was going on. But more recently, I've had like the past decade plus, I've really gained more appreciation for theater as a performance art, where you're there watching people perform. My partner at the time was a huge theater buff, which I have her to thank for me coming to Proctor's and discovering theater and writing about it. So I would go down. I watched it was Waiting for Godot with Sir Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart. That was fascinating. But the experience I remember, like there were plenty of experiences where when I was a kid, where I just didn't have the attention span or appreciation of what I was seeing at the time, so I couldn't remember it. But my first like real adult theater experience was seeing off Broadway Silence the Musical.
Yes,
which was the Silence of the Lambs musical, which I was just blown away by. It was hilarious. The musical numbers were just jaw-dropping, and
Put the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, like anything you think they wouldn't do a song about this. They do a song about it.
Yeah.
And like that one particular scene in the movie, they do that. Anybody who's seen the movie probably knows what I'm talking about with Buffalo Bill. And you're watching it, you're like, if you've seen the movie, you're like, they're not going to do that. but it's also off Broadway, so you know they're definitely going to do that. So yeah, that was my first like real adult experience where I'm like, yeah, I want more of this.
Yeah,
I'm down.
Have you heard about the new musical Teeth?
Oh, is it a musical based on the movie Teeth?
Yes.
Oh my God, no.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Did you see it, Patrick?
Yes, we did. Yes.
How
yes.
was it?
It was great. It was fantastic.
Like, imagine.
It's not often you get to see that.
No, not often.
Hey, not often.
Vagina dentata.
Yep.
About
Google that.
yes.
Or
It's
don't.
by the Pulitzer Prize winner, Michael R. Jackson, who did what the heck's the name of it?
I don't know how theater folks remember.
I was gonna
all
say
theater
that
stuff.
this podcast is crazy to just hear you rattle off playwrights and.
Yeah, except now.
I know.
Like
I
that
tried
was the
once,
most
but I can't
intimidating
Google it.
question I asked is like my experience with theater, because I'm like, my God, I don't remember. I need to learn somebody's name like 5 times before I retain it. Like,
Well, I'll get started. I'll get started on the story, and I'll just like be in it. And, like
You committed.
You are in it now.
committed.
You are in it now. And I gotta say, I'm not a fan of the title of this piece because I can never remember it. One step, one leap, one. All
I
right.
wish I could help you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. So moving on. Sometimes the craziest challenges in theater, painting Monticello, or are the things that doing the Christians. Like people were doing 1 character and 2 character shows. What the heck was I thinking with a choir of 14 in December of 2021? But
We showed up.
yeah,
We were ready.
yeah, and
People were
it
like
had
really wanting to. Yeah.
it had a great audience, and it actually established Harbinger because we've never had a problem financially. We operate a very low budget, but that show kind of like solidified our standing. We haven't really looked back. That was 15 shows ago.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
But it's the challenges, to take on. And I just finished Moon for the Misbegotten, which is a 3-hour play. And he's got a ton of lines. And I was also producing the benefit fundraiser for Kraft, and Harbinger had its final show. And sometimes, it was just I couldn't let it go by. These opportunities that are there, and you're like, I've got to take that, because I'll regret it if I don't.
Yeah.
But the climb that mountain, you see something in front of you, and you got to reach for it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great show too. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I love
It's a great title too.
Moon for the Misbegotten.
Yeah.
Eugene O'Neill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a good title.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, that's the hook, right? It's if something's too wordy or whatever, it's like it's like you don't remember it. And but if it's got some alliteration in there and some majesty, it's goes a long way.
They don't write titles like that anymore.
No, they don't. Back in my day,
Yes.
darn it.
Yes. I was thinking, as far as challenges, and here's another title, Dead Outlaw. Have you heard of this?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's straightforward.
Yeah. It's David Yazbek. And it's about this guy who robbed banks, and he's shot, and they take his body on tour. It's a carnival attraction.
Whoa.
Yeah, and
so somebody
it's a
plays the
musical.
dead outlaw?
Yes.
Oh, is this new?
Yes, it's a starring role. Yes, it was done off Broadway last year. It's David Yazbek who wrote The Band's Visit and Full Monty.
Cool.
Yeah, and
I hope
Dirty
nobody
Rotten
went-
Scoundrels.
I hope nobody went method for that role.
You're challenging me to come up with the actor's name. It's not happening. Total brownout today. So, I think it's Andrew. Anyway. But yeah, it's probably coming to Broadway.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's listed, I saw this morning, New York Times chose it as one of the 10 best of this year.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know.
It's a great show.
Nice.
Can you win like an award for playing a corpse? I mean,
Sure.
obviously you can, but like
the
the only memorable corpse I can think of is Bernie from Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah.
Well, also what Daniel Radcliffe and Swiss Army
That's
Man.
a crazy,
Yeah.
silly movie. Dennis was,
Yes, out of order.
yeah.
Our friend Dennis
Crazy.
Skiba played a corpse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's like I have no acting experience myself other than like maybe some movies in high school for like extra credit, but
There is definitely variation that he brings to the corpse, like the way in which he positions his head.
I remember him on a door, like hanging off of
Yeah.
a door,
Yeah.
right? Wasn't that
Wow.
his like entrance or something?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so, yeah,
because-
physical.
It's
You would-
limited.
because you can't go too limp because then you just look like you're sleeping. And like anybody who's like seen a body, like it's always somebody who like looks uncomfortable. Not that I have seen a lot of bodies, just that like wakes,
Yeah.
But the person never looks comfortable. It's like you've got to convey this discomfort while also like I can't even imagine like how a person would go about doing that and
yeah, that's interesting.
and just like the fallout from it, like just like the back muscles and like shoulder
Is this
discomfort.
person ever alive in the show?
Yes.
They are. They're
Oh,
alive.
well,
and so we
that's
see
good.
their death.
Yes,
So
they
they
have
get-
about half an hour or more before they
And then they're
before
just-
they're killed.
I'm
Okay.
guessing they're playing it very animated before they have to.
Yeah,
Yes.
give it your
Yes.
all.
It's like stretch it out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, you're gonna miss me. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone.
Foreshadowing.
He's the most alive thing on stage until he wasn't.
Man, I'm gonna live forever.
Oh, very good. Speaking of 10 best, do you have any 10 best of the year?
Of the year. I didn't see as much theater as I wish I could, but I have one of my favorite memories locally was I saw, oh gosh, White Rabbit, Red Rabbit? Is
Yeah.
that...
Yeah.
So it's a play where you get the play delivered. Okay, I don't know how to describe this.
Yeah.
But you can help me. It's basically like you get a play, but you're not supposed to read it before they cast an actor, but the actor hasn't read the play yet until they're actually performing it, and then they're reading it in live time, and you're
my
watching them
God.
figure out the play. And one of our friends, Laura, I saw Laura Darling's performance of it.
Okay.
And she's a great cold reader. I would have not been able to do this. I think I would have paid people money to, like, if I were to do this, I would, I'd be like, I'd be apologizing the whole time. But she's a great cold reader. You could see her figuring it out, but she used it, the stage directions and stuff. And then she seems scared because I can't talk about it. Like, that's a rule. There's rules. So that's like, you can't talk about it. It's like once the actor's done it, you can't do it again.
Wow.
But she really, it did seem like she thought she was in danger at times. I thought she was in danger. She's a lawyer, so I'm sure she knew she wasn't in danger, but she sure sold it. And that was like, it felt like a very unique experience because...
It sure sounds like it. Like, wow.
That's great.
And it was one night. She could obviously do it only one time. So it was one night for her, and then other actors were...
And that was Confetti
That was
Stage.
Confetti Stage. That was a favorite
Again,
of mine.
challenge.
Yes. Yeah. It was so interesting to watch her figure out where she was going. And being like, oh, okay, this is what's going on.
That like the whole concept of that sounds like sadism and masochism at the same time. Like whoever wrote it, like is like,
oh yeah,
I'm going to just
that's
torture
the other thing too.
thespians.
It's an Iranian.
Yes, that's the other thing, is that the playwright was like, I'm the playwright and I'm using this actor, and then Laura was like, it was like
wow.
they used the actor as their instrument, but it was really
like
the playwright. It was like Laura was being just a puppet. It was very scary, very disturbing.
My God, that really. But like, I can also see the attraction for an actor to be like, my God, this is going to put me out of my comfort zone and really test my ability to. Actually, yeah, you can't even call that improv because you're performing what's written.
Yep.
So, oh man, trying to figure out the emotion and perspective of the character on the fly.
It's very smart.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very impressive, and I think they did a good job deciding to use her because she's great.
So, Johnny, instead of a top 10 favorite moment, why don't you give us your favorite story from your book?
Oh my gosh, what a question to ask. There's a lot of great ones. My favorite story, because I remember reading about it and I couldn't believe it was true. So I'm like, I have to check other sources, because I first heard of it through one of the newspaper articles. I'm like, I've got to verify this. So one of the great things about theater folk is, you may know this, they love talking about theater and they love talking about their experiences.
No.
So there's some there's some books out there of people reminiscing of their experience in theater in like New York and these areas that I was able to use for this book, and there's just a wealth of just interesting and salacious stuff. But the Green Street Theater, which was one of the first theaters in Albany and kind of the area, it went through a lot of theater managers. And historically, when it comes to acting and performance, that whole getting in front of an audience thing can be very emotionally taxing for a person. So they'll turn to drugs or alcohol to try to get that bravery to go on stage. So there's a lot of that goes as far back as theater exists. Like, this isn't a modern thing. It's there like since the beginning, since playing in barns. But my favorite story is the Green Street Theater. This gentleman was the theater manager there. He had a problem with drinking, so they fired him, and he did not like the fact that he was fired. They hired this woman theater manager named Madame Marguerite's. There's no picture of her, but like envision in my mind, she's just like this big, bold lady. But so she takes it over. He is like hanging out in the area, like at a bar, and he gets a bunch of his like-minded, disgruntled friends together, and they invade the theater and they take it over. Like, they kick her out. In the process of seizing this theater, they stab a police officer. So they occupy the theater. What their intention is, I don't know. Like, I don't know what do they think they're going to continue to put performances on. But Madame Marguerite's gets the Albany police, like a squadron of them together, and they retake the Green Street Theater in Albany. And I was just blown away.
Like it's a fort?
Yeah, like it's a big theater battle. And I'm like, how come I never heard about this before? And like, all this stuff is out there to be found. Like, I thought my story was going to be one of the ones I knew going into this one, is like, before John Wilkes Booth assassinated Abraham Lincoln, they were both in Albany at the same time, and Abraham Lincoln saw John Wilkes Booth perform. That actually didn't happen. They were both in the same city, Albany, at the same time, and one of the hotel managers of the hotel that John Wilkes Booth was staying at talked to him, said, like, listen, our newly inaugurated president is in town. We don't want you talking to any of your political BS, because like he was known for just spouting off his beliefs everywhere he went. And, of course he griped about it, as any future assassin I think probably would. But he performed in Albany, and he was performing, I think it was like Romeo and Juliet or something. There was a sword fighting scene. He fell during rehearsal, stabbed himself under the shoulder, just like a few inches away from like a major artery. So it's like if he fell maybe a little bit differently, history would have changed. But he had to perform in a sling because like that's how serious his injury was. And this was at the same time that Abraham Lincoln was in town. So it was like a weird sort of karmic thing that happens.
I've never heard that.
So
But that's not even, that wasn't the craziest story. The craziest story was these two seizures of the Green Street Theater, and I cover that in this. I'm sure there's a lot more detailed history about it out there somewhere, but I think like they had a weird way with laws back then where it's like, I don't even think the guy who seized the theater really went to jail for a long time. Last I heard about him was he like died on the street drunkenly or something. But yeah, crazy. Like if something like that happened nowadays, it would be national news. But you have to dig to find these gems in the past.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun.
Yeah. Great story.
So cool.
I had heard something else about Lincoln, connection to the area, in that his guests in his box were from the area. I think there's a book about them.
Oh, shoot.
Thomas Mallon wrote a book, Henry and Clara, and I can't remember what their last name is or why they're connected there. But there was a piece that John McEnany brought to Siena called "The Lincoln Suit," and I think it's the suit that he was killed in, and somehow this like made a tour as well. But
Yeah, that those Victorians and their morbid curiosity about stuff. It's like, yes, let's see the suit you were murdered in. So wild.
Yeah. The unfortunate assassination of this healthcare CEO.
Yeah.
There was an article about reverberations to the Gilded Age, and like there were the similar the ways in which we parallel things that had happened before, and the inequality and this robber barons or these titans, and how that there were these assassination attempts and things like that came to the surface 100 years ago, and that there is a mirror to it.
Yep. There's like the that Gilded Age profound opulence and just like wearing it on your sleeve and just being very ostentatious about it. Yeah, it can be great if you're in that community, but everybody outside of it sees that and they think like, not envy so much as just like, look at this person who's just flaunting their good fortune while I'm out here trying to scrape 2 nickels together.
Yeah.
If that resentment it's like,
Well, I think
it's like a candle in an old theater.
Yeah. Well, and especially with healthcare.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've all had experiences with healthcare,
and if we haven't, we will.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Johnny, what is the play that changed your life?
Oh, gosh.
I sprang it on you.
Well, it would probably be whatever it was I saw when I decided to write this book.
This is the theme for the episode.
Because, I mean, it literally did, because I wouldn't be sitting here right now if I didn't come here to... Oh, man, I really have to remember what that was. Oh, my God. I'm kicking myself.
This is a first for the podcast.
Of all the research I should have done for this, just remembering what I saw here.
You're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
But it was coming here. It was whatever was playing in... whatever was playing in 2015 or 2016 when I decided I was going to start writing a book on the theaters of the Capital District. Oh, man. I will write in. I will comment.
Boy, it was good.
I will comment on this. I will comment on this episode once I figure it.
Don't worry about it.
I'll have to contact my my.
Well, there's something to be said for lobby displays.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, the lobby display that changed my life.
I mean, because Frederick Freeman Proctor was an amazing character. Just the fact that he started off as a vaudeville strongman. He was born in Maine. So he was from like this strong sort of Calvinist background. He didn't drink, but his work ethic was like insane. And he was doing like the multiple job thing in theater before everybody was really doing it, in a sense that he was actually like kind of like looked at with like kind of like weird disregard for the fact that if he wasn't performing, he was selling concessions. Like he would, wherever he was performing, he would get the rights to sell concessions. So when he wasn't on stage, he was selling popcorn and peanuts and stuff. And he was able to make a whole bunch of money, and he was able to open his first theater in Albany.
Yeah, that's how movie theaters survive, right?
Yep.
On concessions.
Mm-hmm. And he whenever like change came, like when movie theaters became huge, he did not hesitate and found ways to play movies in theaters, because it's like, a lot of these folks that have their temporary Nickelodeons playing out of their stores, they're not built for sound. They don't have the same opportunities that theaters have. So pretty much every theater that he operated at the time, which was a lot, multiple in Albany, multiple in Schenectady, and multiple in Troy, they were all fitted out to play cinema. And other people that hesitated on that, because people were going to movies. It was a fascinating thing, and theater suffered a lot at the time, and a lot of them went under. And then movie cinemas were going under with the advent of television, which brings us full circle. As the first demonstration of television was done here at Proctor's. I think it was like a projection of like some engine being started in GE proper. It was like broadcast, and that was the death knell for a lot of theaters, was television, because you didn't even have to leave. You didn't have to dress up, because everybody used to dress to the nines to go to the theater. And now they didn't even have to leave their house. So it was, but to their credit, a lot of vaudeville performers were like, well, going to move to television. That's why a lot of old comedians and acts from movies and stuff were vaudeville folks. But yeah, it's all very, very fascinating. And There's an interesting parallel too, because there's a contemporary of F.F. Proctor's who he actually partnered with for a few theaters, H.R. Jacobs, kind of along the same path, but he didn't have the same savvy that I think Proctor had, and he ended up losing everything, like dying destitute, and his wife like was trying to sell, it's very sad, tried to sell his life story, but like nobody would buy it. So like she didn't even have the money like to be able to try to live off this book because nobody wanted to read it by H.R. Jacobs. Well, but contemporarily at the same time, you had F.F. Proctor had a biography written about him. You could probably call it a hagiography. It was like just about how wonderful he was. And that was written by, I wish, Francis Moulton. I can't remember his full name, but he's the guy of the creator of Wonder Woman, and known for his polyamorous lifestyle before that was ever vogue.
Oh, yeah.
So he's the guy, which also very ironic too, because not somebody you could picture F.F. Proctor being somebody who, like, he wouldn't just find absolutely horrifying in some very like puritanical way. But
Yeah, I read a play based on him.
Yeah, there's also the movie. What was, like Moulton and His Women or something or whatever. It was not too long ago that came out. It was like the past few years, I think. But fascinating. Right. Yeah, I love history, obviously.
Awesome. Excellent, Maghen. What is the play that changed your life? Let me tell you also
very, very quickly. My favorite choice of somebody's...
Maghen has listened to all 26 episodes.
Yes. So this is Emily Curo's choice for her first time. She's a two-time, her first time she said the play that changed her life is my favorite choice that somebody's chosen as the play that changed her life is, The Shadow That Broke the Light.
Yes.
It was a beautiful, beautiful play. And I love that she talked about it and that you talked about it. And it was such a beautiful play. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you.
I loved that she got to talk about that. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful play.
A very influential play.
Yeah,
I loved it.
I was going to say, that sounds even familiar to me.
It was done for a week, one night.
It was one night. Oh my gosh, they performed it over and over.
They brought it back this past year.
Oh right.
It was written to commemorate the death of the man who was performing it, Charlie Del Marcel, and his brother overdosed, and it was hour-long play.
I'd say, yeah.
And the first time they did it was like December 18th or something. 2000. It was pre-pandemic, I think.
I think so too.
Yeah, 2019, and they did it for 24 hours. They did the play.
Yes. Wow.
You saw it. Did you see the first?
I saw it early,
and I saw it almost the last. And so they were all. I remember seeing you. We were at the Rooks.
Yeah, the Rooks Christmas party.
He was telling us about this play, and he's like, "It's going all night." But it was very emotional, incredibly emotional. So he had seen it early in the night, and I had seen like the last.
Yeah, I saw it like 7 o'clock at night.
Yeah, I'd maybe seen like almost the last one. So everybody was just exhausted, and it was so interesting, and they were just on just raw emotions. It was so interesting. So I wanted to tell you, I'm so glad that was talked about. But that's a challenge. Oh my gosh.
I'll say.
And I think he had another brother as well. He showed up for this one, and it was I don't know if it was a surprise, but it was incredibly emotional for this brother to come.
They worked together.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I just wanted to tell you that was what I wanted to tell you before.
Thank you.
Yes. The play that changed my life is the play that I bought to go to your class, which was Angels in America. That had changed my life. And I did a monologue for my first time in your class.
Harper.
And it was Harper. And I love that play in general. But do you know what I did? Because I didn't understand how acting worked. I bought the play before I said I'm doing your class. And they filmed that as like a movie, Angels in America. So I like followed the script with the movie. So I'm like, I know that they're making choices, but I don't know, like, there's got to be a right way of how they make choices as actors. But that's what I did as I read the play along with the movie to like understand like how do you make choices and how are they developing characters. But I did bring in the scene about Antarctica that Harper goes on, and that's what I had read, and it was like maybe the first play that I have ever read by choice. And so that was by what choice. Yeah, I mean, you know, in high school.
Rather than
I don't know.
Julius Caesar.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So that was, and I just love that. I mean, that story is so epic. And
I remember very clearly in high school, and I wanted to be an actor, and they were requiring a monologue. I had no idea what a monologue was or how you found one. I was just like looking through plays with, you know, big chunks of characters' speeches.
Yeah.
Which turns out that is a monologue.
Right? Yeah.
Lucky me. But yeah, I did. I think I learned Richard III to get into the egg. I was 17. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? You know, but I had, you know, you don't know.
Yeah.
You
right.
Just like pick up something.
Right.
Yeah, Angels in America, you can see how excited I was to have you in class.
Yeah,
you had very good taste.
Oh, well, thank you.
Come in with Angels in America.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at times, you know, people who look up monologues on the internet, you get these people who have, you know, any crank can write a monologue and call it best monologues for women.
That's what I did.
And that's what you're going to find. And it's not related to a play or anything. It's someone that's just scribbled down, you know, a collection of sentences that, and I have students who bring those in, and sometimes they work and sometimes they're like, I don't really know what this is pertaining to. They have no context.
Right. That's exactly
because they're not from a play.
Right.
And
so I was thinking about taking your class. I Googled like that was it. And I was like, I just don't get it. But it makes sense, right? Because it's like, I don't have anything to come from. But I didn't know.
Which is what class
That's
is
what
for.
class is for. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you helped me with my monologue, and it was just really fun.
Yeah, and you know, I started. It took me a long time being up here. I went to the city and I studied acting. I tried to, you know, make a living as an actor, and then I moved back home after 13 years, and it took me many years before I started teaching acting, because I always thought that, you know, teaching acting was like training someone to make a career as an actor, you know, and if your students weren't making a career as an actor, then you were just a charlatan, you know, as a teacher. I didn't really see, as far as, you know, theater being a part of your life, that it doesn't need to you don't need any remuneration from it. You don't need to make a career necessarily of it, but that it's just who you are and part of your being, and how you function in the world and how you relate to the world is through theater. You know, so, you know, I've told you this, that I bumped into a guy going to see a show, and I was curious. I was like, why are you coming to see this show? And he told me a number of people who were in the show that he knew from another class. And I realized that, you know, there's a community, you know, and you can build a community of, you know, like-minded people who are all interested in theater. And that's when class sort of became like, I need this, you know, I need to do this. So, and that, you know, then we formed a theater company. And
yeah, it really does. I mean, this is so cheesy to say, but it really does feel like it's like a family. Like we all support each other, and like, you know, we all know who's doing what when we're doing something. And it's also like, I mean, I don't know what I would be doing if I really didn't have class. I was still like a very shy person up until maybe like a semester or two into your class. Like, I really feel like I grew outside of class. Like, I don't know. It really was life altering for me.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Oh, yeah.
But, you can see that in me as well.
Yeah.
That, this Moon for the Misbegotten, it was an incredible piece, and it was like so great to work on it. And I was so like, it's not even something, that I dreamed about. I don't really have bucket list roles. It's just like I take what comes and what's there, and usually I don't have a good idea of what I should be doing. But when I'm attracted to something, I go for it. And it was it was very rewarding. And to work with Jen and Evan. And Evan, he's wanted to do Eugene O'Neill for a decade. But to be a part of, someone else's, fulfillment of what he wanted to do was very rewarding. But you come out, you come downstairs, and like half the audience were local theater participants. There was always like a huge amount of support from the community. And it's like, if they weren't there, I don't know if we'd be doing it, So it's like really, it's a great place. But
yeah, for sure.
I think I remembered what I saw when we came there. I think it was the Lion King musical.
That was it?
Lion King.
I think so, yeah. Yep.
And I've got the Pulitzer winner, A Strange Loop.
Oh. What's a wait? Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the one. Oh, you guys did it.
Yeah.
Thank goodness. I would have been kicking myself.
Oh my gosh.
I would have been kicking myself.
That's hilarious.
I'm going to be the only person that doesn't.
It's a very memorable musical, Johnny.
Oh, the thing that changed my life is something I can't remember at all.
That's so funny.
Well, it's a Christmas miracle. I found the true meaning of Christmas. Thank you all for joining us on this episode of The Play That Changed My Life. We've had a great time. Hope you have too. Happy holidays. See you in the new year. Capital Region Festival of Theater has a tree at the Schenectady County Historical Society. You can find this book in your finer bookstores, and it's Historic Theaters of New York's Capital District by Johnny Miller. And what else? Oh, Scene Night.
We did that.
Oh, my God. We almost forgot Scene Night.
know.
Maghen Ryan will be doing a scene from At the Wedding by Brenna Turner with another favorite, Amy Hauschnick. And that will be Scene Night. It's Wednesday night, December 18th at the Albany Barn, 7 p.m. It's my acting class, and they're all doing scenes and monologues. It's free, and they're going to be Christmas cookies.
Yep.
Yeah, always.
Free and cookies?
Free and cookies. Come on now.
Why aren't you there already?
Come on now. You got to get people out of the house, So,
when this airs, how many days before?
I don't know.
Figure it out.
No,
if you're listening to this afterward.
That's right. You missed it. What else is going on? Oh, the Capital Region Festival of Theater. If you're interested in performing, check out our website, which is crftinc.org. And we have 7 different venues looking to program acts, one-act plays, lectures, if you want to teach a course, if you teach yoga, improv, whatever you want to do, join us. And we're going to celebrate and promote the 100 theaters in the Capital Region. All right. I think that's it. Thank you very much. And Happy New Year.